and welcome to episode 2 of the Roll the Tape Sports podcast. I'm Jackson White alongside.
Aidan McNally.
And Jalen McKissick.
And yes, you can see our faces. Yes, we're doing, what's this called? Face
Another
cam
Zoom
today.
episode, another face cam episode.
Another face cam
Yes, sir.
episode. It won't always be like this, but occasionally we'll get the face cam in there. Apologies for no episode last week. We went through, recorded the whole entire episode, over an hour. Talked about our NBA season awards, talking about the start of NBA season, and it was corrupted and lost. So no episode came out last week, but of course we're back with episode 2 now being this week. But this week we're going to be talking about NFL Week 8, Anthony Richardson being benched after his performance last weekend, Pittsburgh possibly making the playoffs. Can the Cowboys do anything right as they are now below 500? And who is our favorite to come out of the NFC?
And for the NBA, we have a season week 1 recap. A lot of crazy things have been going on, a lot of crazy stat lines, scores, upsets. We'll dive into that as well as our NBA award predictions.
And for our ending segment, we have this or that Paolo Banchero edition, fresh off of dropping 50 points yesterday on my Indiana Pacers. And of course, follow us at Roll the Tape Sports on all socials for daily content.
And let's get right into it and roll the tape. NFL Week 8 will start on Thursday Night Football as the Vikings took on the Rams. And coming into this game, Vikings obviously the big favorite. The Rams now did get back two key players in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and the Rams win 30-20. So the Vikings now started 5-0, and now they're 5-2. So is there something going on with the Vikings? What do you guys think?
I think they could potentially, be losing their spark a little bit. I know after, getting the news that JJ McCarthy is going to be out for the whole season, get the news that Sam Darnold's going to be starting. Obviously, you didn't have many high hopes. You start out 5-0. Might have been a little bit of a Cinderella run. At least that's what it looks like right now. I think the ship is, starting to sail a little bit. It could, that could be an overreaction. I mean, it is only two losses to, pretty good teams, as the Rams obviously 3-4, but they get Cup and Puka back. So playoff team with those two players. But I don't know. These Vikings are starting to lose momentum, and the ship might be sailing for this Viking Cinderella season.
I think they'll be fine. I mean, your two losses on the season are to the Lions, who are probably one of the favorites to come
Really
out the
good, really
NFC.
good.
One of the favorites. You lose to the Rams, who just got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back. I mean, the Rams' record doesn't reflect how good they actually are. They've mostly been injured all season, so I think they're fine. I think if they just keep the ship steady. I mean, they versus the Colts, Jags, and Titans next three games. They're probably going to be 8-2 in the
The
next three
AFC
weeks.
AFC South Gauntlet.
I mean,
Yeah,
so I think they'll be fine.
I'd have to agree. I think the Rams they played their best game of the season last Thursday night, and well, Matthew Stafford 4 touchdowns to 1 interception out of nowhere. It looked like prime Matthew Stafford again, and that just tells you how big Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are to that Rams team. I do think they're fine, and I would agree. I do believe they will be 8-2 coming out of this next 3 game stretch. Moving along now to the Sunday games. The Packers took on the Jaguars. The Packers won this game 30-27. Jordan Love had an injury mid-game. Malik Willis came in and threw a touchdown. Packers win 6-2 now. The Jaguars 2-6. But is this concerning for the Packers? Because they're a really good team. Jags not good. They only win by 3. What do you guys think?
I think I think the Jaguars are such an interesting team because, as all of us know, they were pretty good last season up until probably the back half of the year. And you went out and you have the talent on that team. Hasn't really come to fruition too much this season, but I think they have the pieces on that team. I'm not done giving up on the Jaguars team being a playoff team because I do think they can find a stride. And I mean, they showed it here. I mean, only lost by 3 points to one of the best teams in the NFC. You won by a landslide last year. I think after that Bears loss, that kind of kicked him into gear a little bit. I think this Jaguars team is a team that, has a lot of momentum right now. And honestly, if you're a Jaguars fan, this is a pretty motivating loss. I mean, to only lose to the Green Bay Packers by 3, that's a pretty good, that's not a bad score at all for that game. So I think the Jaguars are one of those teams to look out for to make maybe sneak into a wild card spot, maybe catch stride late in the season. But for right now, this loss does kind of suck away some of their momentum a little bit.
Me personally, I think the Jaguars are complete trash, complete garbage. I do not think that that team is going to make a wild card spot. For the Packers side, I think the only concern is can J Love stay healthy for the entire season? I mean, or for this season, not in general, because he's been healthy most of his career. But can he stay healthy for this season? Because if you have to ride out the rest of the season with Malik Willis, you're not winning many games. They've won games with him, but it hasn't been against top tier talent. You get into the games against the NFC North with Malik Willis at quarterback, you're not winning many of those. So I think the Packers need to figure out how severe this injury is and if they can ride the ship with Malik Willis until he comes back.
Yeah, that's one
You
thing
also
Jordan
don't
Love
want to
is
keep you
concerning.
also don't want to force Jordan Love out on the field either if
Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
Oh
knee
yeah.
injury too. So
I mean, Malik Willis hasn't played bad this season. I mean,
No, he
he's
hasn't.
been one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league, and no one really expected that. Um, are the Packers at playoff contenders without Jordan Love? No, but I think Jordan Love will be fine. Hopefully, they're 6-2, so top of that division. So it'll be interesting. And the Jaguars, they're not a terrible team. Yes, their record's 2-6, but they have a lot of talent, even though their coaching is very bad.
yeah,
Bottom of the barrel coaching, to say the
yeah.
least. Moving along now, the Cardinals took on the Dolphins. They won 28-27. Hey, the Cardinals, they're a sleeper team. They've been winning some games lately. The Eagles took on the Bengals. They win big 37-17. The Bengals, once again, disappointing loss. And then moving along, the Patriots took on the Jets 25-22. We'll talk about this one. Patriots win on a game winning touchdown from Jacoby Brissett, or threw it at the one, but they ran it in. They won the game. The Patriots did, and the Jets are now 2-6. So they went out, they fired their coach, and that's going to be the thing that fixes everything. Oh no, that didn't work. Oh, we're going to go out and trade for Devontae Adams, and they're 0-2 in the Devontae Adams era. The New York Jets, it's their season is over. The Aaron Rodgers experiment is done. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be just like Brett Favre in New York, and really, he will be one and done. I know it's been 2 years, but he'll only be there for one season. The end of Aaron Rodgers is upon us.
Yeah, and as a Bears fan, can't say I'm too upset about that, but no, the Jets, I'm not going to sit here and say their season's over because I mean, we're only halfway through the season. There's a lot of, room to turn their season around,
They would
especially.
have to practically win out to make the playoffs if we're being technical.
Yeah, but they're in a really weak division. They're in a very weak division. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win that division because I think the Bills are probably the best team in that division by a landslide. But like I said, I mean, with a new interim head coach, you have to give it some time. You can't really expect an interim head coach to go in and,
But when has it ever happened that a coach has been fired and that team gets the interim head coach and then makes some magical playoff run despite, I mean, besides the Raiders a couple years ago when Derek Carr did that timeout thing.
yeah.
When is
No,
it
I mean,
when has it ever worked?
it's not likely it's going to happen. But this is a team that has made win now moves. This is a very embarrassing loss. I'll admit that. This is a very bad loss. But I mean, these are the losses you're going to have to take to get better. They have a very good defense. I think Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson is a very hard receiver duo to stop. You have Brees Hall. The offensive line has gotten injured a little bit over the course of the season, but I don't know. They have the pieces. I'm not gonna say they're gonna make the playoffs, but they have the pieces to do that. And I'm not gonna be surprised if they flip their season around and potentially catch stride.
Yeah, they definitely have the pieces like Aidan said, but I don't know how they're
The
still
pieces don't
meshing,
work.
which is crazy to still be meshing in week 8. I know they just now got Devontae Adams, but you fire your head coach week 3 of the season, week 4. You can't really expect your team to be doing too much with that big of a change 4 weeks into the season. And to be 2-6 right now, lose to the Patriots of all teams, that's not a good loss. I don't know if you can bounce back from being 2-6 to making the playoffs in a tough AFC. This is a very tough AFC this year. So at most, maybe they go 9-8, 8-9, maybe. But I think, like
I just
Jackson said, the Aaron Rodgers reign is probably over in New York.
And I mean, you never know. He could go to another team. He could have his little Minnesota Vikings stint like Brett Favre did, and go to a team that's decent and go throw a pick in the fourth quarter of a NFC Championship game. I mean, he could go do that, but I don't know. I just his career, even though he didn't play bad in this game, it's just the Jets themselves are losers, and that's what they do.
Fair enough.
But moving along now to another game that happened Sunday, and that'll be the Browns taking on the Ravens. Going into this game, the Ravens came in as heavy favorites. The Browns only had one victory to their name. Deshaun Watson goes out for the year, and the man who no one expected to save the day, Jameis Winston, started this game, and he threw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, a game-winning touchdown, no interceptions, even though, yes, he probably threw one or two, especially on that last drive. Kyle Williams, or not Kyle Williams, Kyle
Kyle
Hamilton
Hamilton.
in that
Yeah.
catch. But the next play threw a game-winning touchdown. How about Jameis Winston?
I think Jameis Winston is like one of those quarterbacks that you just like you throw in there, and for some reason he just plays well sometimes and doesn't play well other times. He's a very iffy quarterback. He's probably the most 50-50 quarterback in the league. Obviously, we
Him
all
and
remember the
Carson
season.
Wentz.
I think he's probably a little bit more. I feel like Carson Wentz isn't bad as much as Jameis Winston. I mean, we all remember the 30-30 year. That's crazy. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. But I think for now, he's definitely better than Deshaun Watson was this season.
Oh,
So
for sure.
I think the Browns. I mean, their defense isn't bad, and they Nick Chubb is back. So who knows? Maybe they'll win a couple games, but I still don't see them as a playoff contender.
Yeah, this as cool of a win this was for the Browns and Jameis Winston, this doesn't really move the needle. Looking at it from a bird's eye view, I mean, great win. Jameis Winston went out there and balled out. Good for him. But you know, if you want to have an offense as bad as the Browns, you got to have a great defense, and this defense has been pretty disappointing this year. I think Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward are the only players that have kind of been, stepping up to those expectations that they've had. Zadarius Smith's had a bad year. This was supposed to be Martin Emerson's breakout year. He, been a little shaky, inconsistent. This doesn't really, this isn't like a, oh my gosh, we're gonna go to the playoffs type of win. This is kind of just like a cool, like, all right, Jameis Winston did his thing, and we'll probably go back to losing next week.
But you look at it on the team on the other side, the Baltimore Ravens, 5-2 coming into this game, and like they have been just doing everything on everyone. They've been running all over you, throwing it everywhere. The Ravens looked unbeatable, and they lose this game. And it's not like they played really bad; they just didn't play great. I don't like how this Ravens team plays to their competition. Why do you think they do that?
Might be a
I'm,
mental thing. I don't know.
I'm gonna let Jalen start on that one.
I don't know. It might be like a mental thing. It might be a thing like this team isn't that good, so I really don't have to prepare as hard as I would if I had to verse like I don't know the Chiefs or the Bills. You see something like the Raiders in front of you. If you're the Ravens, you're thinking who's gonna burn me on the Raiders? Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. Like you don't really think. I'm saying maybe. I don't know how the Ravens players think, but maybe they're like, hey, this should be an easy win. We're just gonna waltz in here expecting a win, not trying as hard. And then when you lose, like it's a bad look. So maybe it's a preparation thing, mental thing. I don't know, but you can't play down to your competition, especially when you're the second best team in the AFC.
Yeah, after they caught stride with like their 3 or 4 game win streak, I was like, okay, this team's like kind of good. And then I look at their schedule. They haven't like downright blown anybody out except for the Bills. That is
Yeah.
the only game that they have like truly won, like no doubts. Even the Buccaneers game, that was close, and that defense still allowed 31 points. You lose to 5 by the Browns. You beat the Bengals by 3. You beat the Cowboys by 3. I don't know. You beat the Commanders by 7, and I know the Commanders are a good team, but you're not blowing people out. The Bills, that's their only like convincing win all year. You could argue the Buccaneers game, but now that I'm looking at it, this Ravens team, they haven't really proven that, you know, they're these levels ahead of the competition they're playing. They're they're really like kind of snooping down to their competition.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. But we'll see how they do. I mean, they're still a good team. They still have Lamar Jackson, who's one of the MVP candidates, Derrick Henry. They're going to be good, but
Yeah.
we'll see how they do for the remainder of this season. Moving along now, Sunday, more games were played. A game down in Houston. AFC Championship, basically AFC South Championship on the line in this one. The two top teams in that division, the Colts taking on the Texans. Texans coming in, were 5-2. The Colts were 4-3. And well, this game was a 3-point game. The Colts basically had a chance to win it at the end. A chance to win it at the end. Obviously, they did not win it at the end, but they had an opportunity to. They lose by 3 in the first half. Anthony Richardson 2 for 15 passing and an interception, a really bad interception in the end of the first half. Jonathan Taylor had 105 yards rushing. Josh Downs 4 receptions. There's only one player on the Colts that had more than one reception, being Josh Downs. That tells you the issue. Stroud played well in this game. Joe Mixon did his thing as well. Stephon Diggs, big news, will miss the rest of the season with an ACL injury, so that's big for the going further. But I'm cattling into Anthony Richardson, 10 for 32, 175 yards, a touchdown to 1 interception, also 45 yards on the ground. Richardson, statistically, you're like, well, 175 is not bad, and 10 for 32 is not amazing, but it could be better. And yes, there were some drops, but Anthony Richardson played historically bad versus the Houston Texans, like really, really bad, to a point where he just got benched for Joe Flacco in Sunday Night Football coming up this next week. What does the future hold for the Colts and for Anthony Richardson?
That's
I
all
guess I'll
you
start this
do.
one off.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess I'll
all
start
you
this one
do.
off as the Colts fan. Benching AR, what holds in the future is mediocrity. That's what the future holds. Is maybe an 8-9 season, 9-8 if you're lucky. I don't think that Joe Flacco. Obviously, he's a better quarterback right now. I'm not debating that. I think AR might be one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen in a minute, but I'm trying to give him his potential to where he could be. But Joe Flacco doesn't move the needle for the Colts at all. At most, you win like 3 more games, maybe 2, if Joe Flacco's your quarterback. I don't understand why you take a project quarterback and then bench him 10 games into his career because he's playing bad. You knew what you were doing when you took him. So it doesn't really make sense to bench him when he's trying to learn. Now, if he played the entire last season, I mean, Aidan talked about this before. If he played the entire last season and he was still playing this bad up until now, then yeah, you can go ahead and bench him. But he's still learning. You take him out of the game, try and give him mental reps. Not everybody learns like that. So I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know who made the decision, if it was Shane, Ballard, Irsay, but whoever made the decision needs to be let go, fired, run amok, run astray, because I don't understand what's going on in the Indianapolis Colts locker room right now.
Oh, yeah, I love the Stephen A. Smith bit there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even a Colts fan. And I know I'm not as passionate about the Colts as you guys are, obviously. I'm not a Colts fan. But this makes absolutely no sense coming from a fan that's not a Colts fan. I mean, as a guy as young as Anthony Richardson, he's 22 years old, one of, if not probably maybe the youngest starting quarterback in the league. He's gonna grow. He only played what? How many games did he play in college? Like not even like 20, right?
Not even. I think it was like 11, maybe.
He
Yeah.
played one season.
He played one season, but he didn't play the
So
entire one season.
so he's played 21 games at a enhanced level. Obviously, you can tell, at Florida, his decision making wasn't the best. But you took him for that Cam Newton superstar, you know, upside. But this makes absolutely no sense. That the mistakes that he's making on the football field, the reason why you're benching him for those are mistakes that he's only going to learn from by taking more reps in game. This does not help him at all being benched. Mental reps are not going to work. He just did mental reps for a whole season last year and or the off season, and you can tell it's still not working this year. Leave him out on the field. The Colts are not a contending team. I think they're I think they could, get a wild card spot potentially. But they're not a team that's going to be the Super Bowl contending bona fide championship caliber team. Let Anthony Richardson get his reps. Let him get in the flow of NFL play, of NFL speed, and see where it goes from there. And if it's bad, then yeah, you don't have to give him his fifth-year option, or you don't have to extend him, and you can let him go and draft a new quarterback in a year.
Well, I think there's two ways you look at this. Okay. I mean, from a fan standpoint, from a team that I don't believe is a Super Bowl contending team, no matter what quarterback is in the starting position on this team. Um, I just it doesn't make sense. Like you guys said, those reps matter. And Anthony Richardson, it is very obvious that he is very raw. But we have to take into consideration he is playing at a historically bad rate. Like historically bad. Like he is the bottom of the barrel. If there's a burn in front of him, he can't hit it. Bad. He has been playing really bad. Like Jamarcus Russell bad. Like it's not even funny how bad he has been playing. And the Colts are still 4-4. So
Yeah,
as an owner standpoint, I can understand it. They're saying if Anthony Richardson sucks this much and Joe Flacco has 7 touchdowns to 1 interception, it's a no-brainer. Joe Flacco gives us a better chance to win. But why? The Colts aren't a winning team. Yes, they're probably going to win 9, 8 games. They have that good of a team to do that. But are they going to go beat the Chiefs in Kansas City? Are they going to go beat Baltimore in Baltimore? Probably not.
no,
And it's just kind of how it is. But another reason that it does make sense that this happened. Anthony Richardson probably lost the locker room. If we're being honest, tapping
it's a
out as a
possibility.
starting quarterback in this league, you don't do that. Andrew Luck died on the field versus the Broncos in 2013 and got up and played the rest of the game. I mean, it's just if you're a starting quarterback, I mean, everyone rallies off you. You're the franchise. It doesn't matter if you're really, I mean, okay or anything. The starting quarterback is the build, the first thing you see when you think of an NFL team. And if your starting quarterback has to tap out for one play just because he's tired, I think he lost the locker room. I think the veterans didn't like that. And I mean, with his play combined with everything else and combined with his ability not to stay healthy, I mean, it makes sense that he just lost the locker room. And I like Anthony Richardson. I think he's a good guy. He does a lot of stuff in the community. He talks well. He's PR trained to an extent, but just I don't know.
He
I
wasn't
don't
PR.
want
He wasn't PR trained enough to not lie there at the press conference.
to. That's why I said
I
to
don't
an
know what came
extent.
across his mind to say, "Yeah, I got tired."
Yeah,
You
that's
don't
just
say that. You don't
yeah.
say
And
that.
that leads right into where I'm saying I think he lost the locker room. Ryan Kelly's the Colts centers. Um, he got asked that by a local media guy. And his answer was kind of just like, well, yeah, that's not acceptable, but we're behind Anthony. And I mean, it just tells you right there that that's just not okay. Peyton
Yeah,
Manning didn't do that. Tom Brady didn't do that. I mean, the greats don't tap out for. I've never seen it before in all reality. I've
Yeah,
never
I've
seen a
never seen
quarterback
that
I've
who
never
happen.
seen
I've
it
just
before
never
either.
seen that happen.
tired. The offensive linemen are tired. They're sitting there. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's maturity. He's 22. I mean, I don't know.
He is only
I don't
22.
I don't know. I mean, Arch Manning looks really good.
Bring him home. Bring him home.
Bring him home. I mean, just I don't know. And then there's just so many question marks about this team going forward. Man,
I think another big question is Shane Steichen. That's another big question because I feel like Shane Steichen was brought here because he was supposed to make the it easier on Anthony. I don't think he's made it easier. Like you look at like last year, Anthony was playing really. He played better last year than he did this year.
maybe it's just not Shane. It's Anthony.
It could be one or the other. But also, I don't know why Shane Steichen called a pass play on 3rd and 5 with 30 seconds left in the second quarter when it's a tied game that forces a. Obviously, he didn't throw the ball, but there's no reason you should call a all curl route on 3rd and 5 with 30 seconds left in the second quarter when you have when it's a tie game that forces Anthony to throw the ball that made the interception happen. Obviously, he didn't throw the ball, but
Or
it was the
if you're
play
an
call.
NFL quarterback, don't throw it into double coverage
I
when
know,
you're
but
running those screens.
that
I
call
mean,
shouldn't have been called. You should just take it into halftime. Should have taken it into halftime. In my opinion, you should take it to halftime.
All right, moving along now, we'll go to the Detroit Lions taking on the Tennessee Titans. Detroit got to a big lead, 52-14. Detroit's just throwing passing touchdowns with everyone as the running back David Montgomery got a passing touchdown as well. Lions win big over there. The Buccaneers took on the Falcons, and a big Kirko and the Falcons got the victory 31-26. Moving along now, Chargers got the big win over the Saints 26-8. The Saints might overtake the Panthers as the worst team in the NFL. Bills win big over Seattle 31-10. Commanders win over the Bears 18-15. Amazing walk-off last second touchdown by the Commanders.
Sorry,
Big
Aidan.
million, Jaden Daniels, sorry, just threw it up a prayer and got answered, and Caleb Williams lost in the battle of 1-2. Um, we'll touch on this just for a quick second. Aidan, as a Bears fan, what was going through your mind on that last play?
So so we were watching the play, and I'm like, all right, like I doubt anything's gonna happen. Like it's probably just gonna be like one of those ones that get batted down in the end zone or whatever. And then I get a text from my dad that pops up in the top right corner of the screen before Jaden Daniels threw the ball. And it said, "Oh my God." And I'm like, and it pops up on my screen as Jaden Daniels is throwing the ball. And I'm like, what's about to happen? Like, there's no way. In my head, I'm thinking like they catch it, but like it stopped at like the 1 or 2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the play. I'm just like, oh my God. Like there's no way that just happened. I wasn't even like mad. Like I was just like I wasn't like yelling or screaming. Like I didn't like throw anything or
It's
anything
just
like
like,
that.
damn.
I just sat there and just watched the screen as I see Dan Quinn like throw his headset away. And I'm just like, there's no way that just happened. Cause we battled so hard to get back into that game. We take the lead with 30 seconds left just for like that is the most Chicago Bears loss I think I've ever seen. And part of me was satisfied to see all of our players in that so hurt because they need to get some sense knocked into their heads. I'm part of me is satisfied seeing our team hurt. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, maybe Bears have a winter arc, as they call it, and
Yeah.
start winning games. Caleb Williams, 120, 131 in this game, didn't play that too well. Almost pull out the victory, though. Moving along now to other games that happened. The Chiefs took on the Raiders. They won 27-20. Broncos took on the Panthers. They won 28-14. And then Sunday Night Football happened as the Niners took on the Cowboys. And well, the Niners dominated the Cowboys. The score does not really necessarily show what happened in the game. Um, the Niners just really did anything they wanted, kind of just had control the whole game. Dallas had a chance at the end and kind of blew it like they do. Um, and just well, the Cowboys, it's not their year. They don't really have a running attack at all. Dak
No.
Prescott, even though he's decent, has looked a little decline. And just the receiving room isn't really stepping up the way they thought they were. CeeDee Lamb looked amazing in this game. Of course, top five receiver in the game, but no one else is really stepping up. They don't have that certified receiver too. And I think that's what this team really lacks offensively. And their defense, I mean, it's just not that good.
Yeah. This is a very top heavy team. Like outside of Dak, CD, Micah Parsons, and Tyler Smith, and maybe like Zach Martin. That's take those four off the roster, and that might be the worst roster in the league. Well, at least one of. I mean, you can't expect, two guys you just paid like $500 million combined. You can't expect that to just those two to carry the boat. You can't. There's 11 players on a football field on your team. You're going to need very solid play from all 11 players to win. And right now, they're only getting four players that are playing well on each side of the ball, like max. I don't think this is even a playoff here for the Cowboys. I do like Dak Prescott. I do like CeeDee Lamb, but Like I said, this is a very top-heavy roster, and I think Mike McCarthy needs to go after this year because he is not the head coach for this job, and I don't think he's a head coach for any job at this point.
Yeah, I agree with Aiden. Mike McCarthy probably needs to be on his way out. Nothing for the Cowboys looks easy. Nothing on defense, nothing for offense. The only thing that sometimes looks decent or easy is a CD Lamb completion because CD Lamb's open most of the time. Other than that, you don't have much offensive production. Maybe like a little dump off to like Schoonmaker, not Schoonmaker, Ferguson, because Schoonmaker's out. And on defense, good God, I mean, since Michael Parsons has been out, there's been virtually no pass rush. DBs are getting burnt throughout the secondary. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just not a good look. And I don't know what you can do to improve this roster when you already um like put so much of your money in one spot on the offense and in Dak and CD. You haven't even paid Micah yet. So it's kind of just like what can you really do other than just go out there and hopefully hit on draft picks? So I
And
don't know what they
I don't
can
even
do.
know if they're going to be able to pay Micah after
Not
they
what he wants,
paid
definitely not what he
Jack, and
wants.
yeah, because Micah's going to want a bag. He's going to
Yeah,
want to be probably one of the highest paid defenders in the league.
probably the highest paid defender.
Yeah, at this point, with how the market is now, yeah, and I don't think Jerry Jones and the Cowboys can give that to him after giving CD Lamb and Dak $500 million combined. I just don't see a
Yeah.
world where they can pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, just the Cowboys are just such a team that it always feels like they're one piece away. And now
Could have been
they're
Derrick Henry away.
hey, they could have went out and gotten Derrick Henry, and
They
that would have
could
solved
have
probably most of their issues.
Yep.
a
But
lot of their
instead,
issues.
they just kept their money, and now look at them. They're 3-4, and it's not looking good for the Cowboys. But moving along now, Monday Night Football, an exciting game in the fourth quarter
Somehow. Yeah.
somehow, but in the rest of the game was quite bad. The Pittsburgh Steelers took on the New York Football Giants, and the Steelers won 26-18. The Giants had a chance at the end to win it, but the Steelers prevailed. Russell Wilson, 20 for 28, 278, a touchdown, no interceptions. He played really good. Even though, like statistically, like it doesn't say that much, but Russell Wilson threw some dimes, especially in
Yeah.
that fourth quarter. Did that pass to George Pickens in the fourth quarter was beautiful from Russell Wilson. I mean, I think the Steelers now with Russell Wilson at the helm after seeing them for a few weeks, to me, they're playoff locks. They got a really good defense, and it kind of reminds me a lot of Seattle. They had a really good defense, and Russell Wilson didn't have to do everything. He just had to do some things. Good running game. Najee Harris finally has come back to form. Their offensive line is looking good. The Steelers, I mean, they could be a scary contender team with Russell Wilson at the helm if he continues to play as good as he's been playing.
Yeah, this Steelers team is as consistent as the Tide. I mean, they their defense, first of all, their defense never really has a bad game. And I know we all kind of were like, oh, why are they, starting Russell Wilson over Justin Fields? Like Justin Fields is winning you games. Now I see why. I mean, this Russell Wilson offense looks really a lot better than Justin Fields' offense. I know they're not putting him, it's not drastically better points wise. But if you watch the game, this offense seems a lot more dynamic and more, easy flowing than it did with Justin Fields. But like you said, I think this Steelers team might be top three in the AFC with under a head coach like Mike Tomlin. You have a guy like Russell Wilson to, people forget he didn't play bad last year. He really didn't. This is
No,
still a Russell Wilson guy who's still a good quarterback in this football league. And you surround him with good weapons like George Pickens, Pat Fryermuth, Calvin Austin's been pretty good this year. Najee Harris has been picking up his load a lot over the last month. Really, ever since the Colts game, he's rushed for 85 and over 100 like three different times. I think the Steelers team is due for success, not only in the regular season, but also in the playoffs as well. Also, I do want to say one more thing. That George Pickens catch should have been a touchdown. The NFL needs to change that rule because that is harder that is way harder to come down with 2 points of contact with 1 foot than it is to come down with two different feet. So NFL needs to change that rule. That should have been a touchdown.
It should have been a touchdown. Yeah, the biggest question with the Steelers was we all know their offense can be there. I mean, not their offense. We all know their defense is there, But the question was, can their offense also produce points or at least, get some type of drive going consistently? And with Russell Wilson at the helm, they really have. I mean, Russell Wilson has been really, really good since he stepped in. Obviously, Justin Fields was good for his time, but the Wilson offense just seems a lot more, like Aidan said, dynamic with the pass and the run, play action off the run. It's just a lot smoother than what the Justin Fields offense was with it, where it was a lot more Justin Fields scrambles
Seemed
and off
that
platform
offense
throws.
kind of seemed robotic, kind of.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you just kind of expected what was
Yeah,
going to happen.
exactly. But I think they're a playoff lock, like Jackson said, easily. With how the AFC is playing out right now, I don't know if they're going to win the division. We're still in play for the division, but as of right now, I think they're probably the favorite to be at least like the 5 seed in the wild card.
Oh yeah, for sure. But moving along now to our final NFL topic until we move on. Who is our favorite to come out of the NFC? So that means the conference, that's not the AFC, the NFC. Who's our favorite as it stands? Aiden, I'll let you start.
It's Detroit. It's easily Detroit. I don't think there is a team in the NFC that is on the same realm as the Detroit Lions right now. I mean, you just hung up 52 points on a top half defense in the league in the Tennessee Titans. Say what you want about the Titans, but that defense, is pretty good. This team is blowing teams out of the water. They handed the Minnesota Vikings their first loss on the road in Minnesota. They're beating teams left and right. They're only gaining chemistry. And how I look at it is the Aiden Hutchinson injury. I think after that happened, I think they're all, rallying around that and kind of almost doing it for him kind of thing. But that's only making them stronger as a team, only stronger as a unit. And the only thing that can beat this team is themselves. I think other than that, I don't see a world where this team isn't the first seed, you know, not having to play that first week of the NFL playoffs. I do believe that this team will be the one seed. And as of an NFL week 8, this is the number one team in the NFC and honestly, the NFL as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. My favorite is the Lions, but for the sake of being different, I'm going to say the Niners. I First of all, Christian McCaffrey opened up his practice window. I think what's today, Tuesday? Yeah, he opened up yesterday, so he probably will be playing this weekend. Obviously, the Brandon Ayuk injury is very detrimental to their season, but Juwan Jennings could easily step into that role. Obviously, he's not as good, but he can easily slide into a wide receiver 2 role. Brock Purdy's still playing great football. The offensive line is still playing great football. Defensively, you have some questions because of injuries as well. But if they can get fully healthy again, which they really can, because nobody's on season-ending IR except for Brandon Ayuk. So you can really get healthy towards the end of the season, start racking up some wins. Once CMC comes back, obviously the running game is even more explosive than it was with Jordan Mason. Um, it really just depends on how healthy this team can be towards the end of the season. If this team is fully healthy, they might not be the one seed, but I don't think anybody in the NFC wants to face a 80 to 85% healthy Niners team.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, but are you really picking the Niners after everything that's
I'm picking
happened?
the Niners.
Bold, bold, bold to say the least. Well, I'm gonna be different. Man,
Okay.
I gotta think here. Okay, so the Lions and the Niners, you guys picked. Okay, to be different, who am I gonna pick? Sure, I'll be different. I want to pick the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Big Kirko. Hey, watch out for Atlanta. Okay, I know that I know that they're not the most surprising team, okay, but Kirk Cousins has been balling out. He has multiple games where he has 4 touchdown passes. Obviously, he has that 500-yard game, but they've beaten some decent teams and they've hung in there with some other teams. They beat the Buccaneers most recently, and damn, they haven't beat anyone good. I picked the wrong team. Okay, I'm changing it. I'm changing it.
Switching.
Hey, they beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
The Eagles are
They
not a
did beat
good
the
team.
Eagles.
Okay. Man, I really like Detroit.
Just go ahead and pick Detroit.
Okay, I'm going the
It's
Lions.
Detroit. It's Detroit. Yeah.
Give me the Lions. I think they're the best team in the NFC. In all reality, right now, I think they're the hottest team in the NFL. They're throwing passing touchdowns with all and everyone. And one thing about the Detroit Lions are last season they were really good at home, but away they struggled a little bit. This season they have yet to lose on the road, and they've won five straight. Obviously, that is the second best in the NFL to the team that's 7-0, the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, I mean, if it, as it looks right now, it looks like it's going to be a Chiefs Lions Super Bowl, and that was something people predicted even last year. That could possibly happen. Detroit is coming back for vengeance. They were just a few plays away for being NFC champions. So I really just like the Lions. Jared Goff's just a really good player. Their defense, even though they lost Aidan Hutchinson, which does hurt them a lot, they could go get a guy like Max Crosby to change the tide. I mean, you never know. But give me the Lions. They're the best team in the NFC. And in all reality, best team in the NFL right now as it stands, at least to me. But moving along now to the second part of our show. Yeah, we're going long, but we can do that when we have the face cam. So let's move along to the NBA. And well, the NBA season one recap, we're going to kind of touch on that as we give everyone our top eight in each conference. So we picked our top eight in each conference in the East and West. So I believe you guys have that pulled up as well.
Yes.
Yes. All righty. So let's get right into it with the Western Conference. I'm going to go ahead and start. My eighth seed in the Western Conference is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies last year obviously did not really do that well because John Morant barely played. I believe how many games did he play last year? 10, 15?
If that,
He had
yeah.
that big injury and the suspension as well, and just a lot of injuries. Right now they're 2-2. Zach Edey's playing decent. John Morant looks all right. Um, I mean, they're definitely are okay, but I think they'll figure it out towards the end of the year. My eighth seed is going to be the Grizzlies.
My eighth seed is going to be the Sacramento Kings. And, you know, we're only, 2, 3 games into the year, but I'm thinking about maybe dropping them because this this team does not look very good right now. I know both of their losses have been close, but this is a team that's 0-2 right now. I do understand there's 82 games in a season, so I do believe that they'll turn it around, but I don't think this
Like what team?
roster, the Kings.
Kings.
Oh, they're 1-2.
Oh, oh, that's right. They beat the who'd they beat?
They
I
beat the
forget.
uh they
They
beat
beat
the
Portland.
Blazers. They beat
Yeah,
Portland.
most
Okay, so
recently.
never mind. Yeah, this team's not that good. Um, it's
Really?
only
Even with
went
DeMar?
what?
Even with
I
DeMar, they're
mean,
currently they're
there's just
currently
there's
fifth in the
just
NBA in offense.
I mean, but their defense has always been their thing. And DeMar, 10 years ago for defense, this would have been an amazing signing. But DeMar's not where he was. Um, he's not where he is anymore in defense from 10 years ago. You traded Davion Mitchell. I understand you have Keon Ellis as a six man who's going to come off the bench and give good, defensive minutes. But I don't know. I don't think this team is up there with the best of them as stacked as this Western Conference is.
For my eight, I'm going with the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't think y'all have them in your top eight, but I have them in mine. Offensively, I think this team can be really dangerous. It all depends on defense and rebounding because I'm pretty sure they're starting. What was it? Not Zion.
Herb
Herb
Jones.
Jones at center. That is basically their starting lineup. They're running a small ball lineup, which could hurt them in the future, but they also could help them potentially, just depending on how teams match up against it and if they're on or off that night offensively. But I'm going with the Pelicans as my eight.
All right, moving along now. My seven is going to be the Sacramento Kings. I know Aiden was just hating on them, saying they're not that good, but one thing this team can do is score the basketball. And even though their defense, yes, it's not that good, if you can score more than the other team, you win. And I think this team's going to do a lot of that. Currently, they're 1-2, but three separate players are averaging more than 22 points per game. And I like their bench. I like Malik Monk. He's a guy who's mentioned in six man of the year. Um, Rumors every single year. He's a really good player coming off their bench. And just I don't know. This team just I just don't see a world where they're not in the playoffs with if you have De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, two perennial all stars, two guys who will be on the all star team almost every year. And you add DeMar DeRozan. If this team is already close last year, you think adding DeRozan would help them. In a really rough bloodbath of a West, I'll put the Kings at 7.
To spin off that, this Kings team is so bad that my seventh seed has a player on it that got his first career win against Domantas Sabonis. Took him 11 games, but he finally did it this year. That's Anthony Davis of the Los Angeles Lakers. Finally got his first career win on Domantas Sabonis. And I think this Lakers team is very good. They're three
He's
and
never
one.
beaten Sabonis until now.
No, no.
Yep. He was like 0 and 11 against Sabonis, something like that.
Sabonis, the Davis stopper? What?
Well, the Kings team is not as good this year because he lost
They
to
didn't
him
keep the
this
streak
year.
alive.
I guess so.
But this Lakers team is very good. This is a whole new team under JJ Redick. You can tell they're 3 and 1 this year. They're starting out blazing hot. I think longevity, stamina towards the end of the season, I think that might get to them. I think they could deal with a few injuries. I don't know if LeBron can keep up with an 82 game season at this point in his career. So that's why I do have them coming in at 7. But this is a very good team as of right now, and they can definitely be one of those playoff spoilers and one of those teams that can make an upset in the playoffs.
For my 7, it's the Phoenix Suns. I think they still have questions defensively, but offensively, you still have KD, you still have D-Book, you still have Bradley Beal. The question is defensive wise, but in that game the other night, Lakers versus Suns, KD looked like vintage KD. I mean, he was scoring with ease on anybody they put on him. And when you have someone like that night in, night out, it just makes it hard for teams to beat you, especially when you have two of those guys in Bradley Beal and in Kevin Durant. I just don't think that there's any chance that the Suns miss out in the playoffs.
Yeah, caddying off that, my 6th seed is going to be the Phoenix Suns. Even though, yes, depth in defense kind of can become a problem for this team, we got to be honest. I mean, they're not going to miss the playoffs with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant so far this season, by the way, 29 points per game in 4 games. Bradley Bill's played all right, and Devin Booker has averaged 23. But the Suns, they're better. They're definitely a better team than they were last year by chance. They're 3-1 right now. Their only loss being to the Lakers. Their most recent game came a victory off the Lakers, I believe, last night, as we're
Yep.
recording this on the 29th. So the Lakers, yeah, they beat them last night. But just this team, their roster, looking at it right now, doesn't scare me come playoff time because the question is Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal all going to be in the lineup in the playoffs? If they all are in the lineup and they still have Trey Jones running the offense and they're doing their thing, then maybe. But just I see them getting to the playoffs, being a contender in the playoffs, I think is a completely different story. But time will tell. The Suns at 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I also have the Suns at 6, but they could get higher as the season goes for me because this team is red hot. They're a lot better, starting the season off than I thought they'd be. Kevin Durant looks like vintage KD. I think they got that depth that they needed a lot last year. That first half of the season, their record wasn't as good as it was in the second half of the season because they didn't have that depth. They added Trey Jones, they added Royce O'Neal, and I think this is going to be a very good team come playoff time, like you said. And this is going to be one of those teams that mixes in with the rest of the West in terms of skill level. And I think this is going to be a very good team.
Yeah, for my 6, I have the Kings. I'm a little bit higher on the Kings than y'all are. I just think their offense is probably going to be top 5 whenever it comes
For
down to the end of the
sure.
season. Defensive, it's still a question, but I feel like they have the pieces on the team to potentially play defense. I mean, Keon Ellis is a guy that you can throw on 1 through 3, and he can play good defense on them. Sabonis isn't the best, but he can lock down whenever he really needs to. Fox is the kind of guy that can get some steals at times. Keegan Murray's just undersized, but he can still play the defense on maybe a 3, not really a 4. But I think their offense will keep them in it for most of the year. And as long as they can do that, I don't see a way they don't at least finish in the playoff race.
Oh yeah. Moving along now, my 5th team is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. And yes, the Mavericks on the season are 2-1, and they're coming off, well, the most recent Western Conference champions. They lost to the Celtics in the finals. And I mean, it's not like they didn't go out and they made changes. They went out and they did. They got better. They went out and got Clay Thompson, who really, in all reality, hasn't played bad so far this season, averaging about 20 points per game, shooting the ball a little bit better. Derek Lively's taken a big step. He's now averaging 11 and 8. Um, but just the four teams that I'm going to name above them, I believe will be better. And it's just not that the Mavs are a bad team by any means. It's just the teams above them are so much better in my mind than this team. Just I think they have a ceiling with Doncic being your best player, and that ceiling right now for me is the fifth seed. I mean, they proved me wrong in the playoffs last year. They might do that again, but right now the Mavs are at five.
For my five, I'm going to have the Memphis Grizzlies. People forget we're only a year removed from when they were the two seed. Ever since then, they've added Marcus Smart, they've added Zach Edey, they've added GG Jackson. This team is 2-2 right now, and they don't even have GG Jackson or Triple J healthy. The amount of lineups that Taylor Jenkins can run with this team is limitless. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people if Ja can stay healthy. If this team can stay healthy, then I think this is going to be a very scary team come playoff time just because of how much versatility their lineup has.
For my number five, it's got to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Lakers weren't in the top five when I first made this list, but that was before their first couple of games. But after these first couple of games, this offense looks beautiful. JJ Redick has this offense absolutely humming. AD looks like he's a top three, four player in the NBA right now. I think so. The way he's playing right now, he's dominant on both sides. LeBron still looks great. I mean, that game he had the other day, we scored what 17 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, dude's 40 and still doing this. That's why he's my GOAT anyway. But the Lakers, if they can keep it up offensively with that JJ Redick new offense, while also still playing solid defense with guys like AD and really playing good defense, I don't see a reason why they can't finish as a top five seed.
Yeah, for sure. Moving along now, my fourth seed, team you just talked about, the Los Angeles Lakers. And just like you said, the offense through four games has looked really good. Like they're actually running plays. And you know what running plays does? It works. It's like it's magic.
No
Darvin Ham
way.
and the Bucks. How are you doing? 1-3. But just JJ Redick, I like what he's doing. In all reality, they've had a chance. They should be 4-0 if they just changed a few things last night versus the Suns.
Yeah.
Um, their team really isn't better than it was last year. They didn't really add anything, but they just seem to go. I don't know. They just are meshing better. Bronny James, he might be the secret piece.
He might be.
Hey, by the way, I saw someone say Bronny Senior on a
Yeah,
thing. They
I
called
saw
LeBron
that. I
Bronny
saw
Senior.
that
That
too.
is
They called LeBron
insane.
James Bronny
Ronnie
Senior.
Senior is
That
nuts.
is just that's crazy, but that's just a little tangent. But LeBron's doing his thing, averaging only 20 points. But with this team, how it's built, they don't really need LeBron to go out and get 25, 26. This needs to be Anthony Davis's team. I think if it's going to be Davis, they run the offense through him, and Austin Reeves gets going. D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura's looked good. The Lakers can be a four seed and maybe even higher. But the Lakers at four for me.
For my four, I have the Denver Nuggets. KCP really rounded out their starting five last year as one of the better 3-and-D shooting guards in the league, maybe a top five 3-and-D shooting guard in the league. Didn't really know how much that affected that starting lineup until now. I mean, they're 1-2, got blown out by the Thunder, lost to the Clippers. They barely beat the Raptors in overtime yesterday. This is a team that is definitely getting worse. I do have to throw them in the playoffs somewhere since they do have the best player in the world on their team in Nikola Jokic. But I don't think this is a team that is competing for a championship. I think their championship window is past. And if you're Denver, be glad you already won one because I don't think you're going to get there again.
Fair enough. My number four is the Timberwolves. I still have a little bit of questions about how the Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle thing will work. Obviously, it's worked to an extent some games and it hasn't in others. But it's just a fit thing for me. I just don't know how the fit works. Obviously, we're not even 5 games into the season yet for this T Wolves team. So it's just a question mark for me. If this fit works, they could easily be the 1 or 2 seed. But I just need to see it for a couple more games. But as of right now, they are my 4.
My three to tangent off that, not the Wolves, but I'll go with a different team, the Denver Nuggets. Um, they're currently 1-2, but they have the best player in the league still. Nikola Jokic is probably still the best player in the league. But one thing about the Nuggets so far this season is their offense has been bad. Like, like kind of. I mean, they're currently the 28th ranked team
Russell Westbrook effect.
in points in the NBA. And I guess you could say the Russell Westbrook effect, but statistically, they're not doing that good. Defensively, they're good, yes, but offensively, they're not the best. Jokic still doing his thing, averaging 32, Murray averaging 17. But them losing KCP is really big. And I think they're a KCP type player away from contending, like really contending. So keep an eye on them to make a move later in the year, especially for a wing, because I think that's what this team lacks. But even as Jokic, you're being your best player, you're still going to be a top three seed. So give me the Nuggets at 3.
For my 3, I have the Timberwolves, same spot they were last year. I think this Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo acquisition really helps them. I do think it is better for their team than having Cat there. I think Cat and Rudy Gobert didn't work the best. It worked good, but I think Julius Randle having that all-world rim protector like Rudy Gobert alongside of him really helps him there. You add depth with Dante DiVincenzo. You add pieces like Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon, who I believe those are guys who probably won't play much this year, but very young pieces who could take a step in, like last year's, Jaden Hardy or Gigi Jackson. But this is a very good roster. They didn't get really much better, but they didn't get worse. So I have them 3, same as they did last year.
For my number 3, I think it has to be the Mavs. The Mavs, obviously coming off of a finals appearance last year. You're running back basically the same team with a few key additions like guys like Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall. I think the Klay Thompson addition will be really huge coming in as the season goes forward. As you already said earlier, he's already averaging like what 20 points per game on good shooting efficiency. I mean, if he can do that while still playing solid defense, that's just a guy. That's just another guy that they can that Kyrie and Luka can just drive and kick out to and make consistent 3-point shots. Is what they were lacking last year is consistent 3-point making. But if the Mavs can get that while still playing solid to at least decent defense, I mean, you still have a guy like Derek Lively, who's a very good rim protector. Luka and Kyrie aren't the worst defenders in the world. If they can at least be solid on defense while still maintaining their terrific offense, they could definitely make another run in the Western Conference.
Oh, for sure. Moving along now to my number two's team, and that is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. And even though it seems like a lot of you guys don't really like the trade, what's his name? Name just Julius Randle. Sorry, just left my body. I don't understand, but I kind of do because the Towns Gobert balance just didn't work. I think Cat's a center, and I think getting Randle helps them with size, even though Cat's a better shooter. You could say he stretches the floor more. Randall's more of a power forward than Cat. Cat's a center. And I like that. And also Dante DiVincenzo off their bench. I mean, another guy who's a perennial six man of the year type esque player. And the Pelicans, not the Pelicans, they're not even in the playoffs. The Wolves, sorry. Um, they have that it factor, that Anthony Edwards. And when you have that it factor and that Anthony Edwards type esque player, you're going to be a top 3 seed. And the Wolves, I don't see any world where they're not a top 3 seed, and I don't really see any world where they're not the 2. The 1 seed that we're going to mention in a second, all of us. That team's good, and I don't think that team's not going to be the 1 seed. But below that, I think it has to be the Wolves.
For my number 2, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Just made a finals run last year. In that span where they traded after the deadline, when they traded for PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, I think they had a top 3 record in the NBA post trade deadline. This is a very good team. I think they'll run it back. I think they probably got better than they did last year, adding Najee Marshall, adding Klay Thompson. This is a very good team. It's going to be a very dangerous team come playoff time. And Don't be surprised if they make another finals run this year.
For my number two, I still have the Nuggets being good. I don't. I understand their offensive struggles early, but I think that's more of just having a lot of new players and new roles. Christian Brown's in the starting lineup now, guys. Things like that. I think it's just a more of a getting to feel each other out type of thing. Pause. But as the season goes on, I think that it will mesh better. Obviously, you have the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. You still have Jamal Murray, who's a seasoned MVP. He's going to ball out in the regular season, and then playoffs kind of up and down with him. But I think it's just more of a can we figure this thing out before it gets too bad type of thing. And I think they will. Give me the Nuggets at number two.
All right. And then finally, my number one team, let's all say it with each other, the Oklahoma City
City
Thunder.
Thunder. Yep.
This Thunder team, they went out and got rid of Josh Giddey and went out and got Alex Caruso, a phenomenal NBA champion level defender and role player. And that is really the only thing this team needed. It seemed like they just needed that extra piece, that one extra piece. And I think Alex Caruso is that. SGA, I think he's going to have a near MVP season once again. He'll average 31, only 31, no higher, no lower. And just there's just too many options of young talent to take the next step that there's no way this team's not the number one seed after what they did last year. Already they're the number one defensive team in the NBA. I believe they're up there. I think they're number one offensively too, or something like that. They're up there, top five. This team is just phenomenal in all aspects. The Thunder, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Thunder Celtics final, if we're being honest, but give me the Thunder at one.
Yeah, this OKC team is absolutely stacked. You look over the offseason, they basically swapped Josh Giddey, who was kind of, their bad player on both sides of the ball in the playoffs last season. You swap him for Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, theoretically. I know Hartenstein probably won't play until December, but without him, they've blown out every single team they've played. They've beat every team by at least 15 that they've played, and they're playing some pretty good teams too, like the Nuggets. They beat who was the second team they beat?
The Hawks.
The Hawks by a lot. They beat the Bulls by a lot. They are terrorizing teams. I think once they get Isaiah Hartenstein, it's going to be over for the league. I think this team is easily probably going to win 60 games this year.
Yeah, I could also see them winning 60 games this year. Playoff wise, I think what they needed was the playoff experience last year. I think that was the only thing they really needed to really, get that experience that they needed to go further in the playoffs than they did last year. Obviously, I think they're the regular season Western Conference favorites. I don't know if there's any team that's touching them defensively or offensively combined. Shea probably going to be an MVP candidate again. I don't see any team in the West really beating them unless it just comes down to pure what's the word? Unexperienced? Yeah, unexperienced in the playoff side. But I do think it will be a Thunder Celtics finals.
Now, moving along to our final segment of the day, and that'll be this or that. And the player we're going to be talking about today is Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic, just coming off a complete masterpiece versus the Indiana Pacers, where he had 50 points, 50 big ones for the Orlando Magic crowd. But the game is this or that. So it's Paolo Banchero versus the player we name. And I'm going to get it right into it and say Pablo Banchero or Pascal Siakam. They battled it out last night.
Aiden, you go first.
Okay, are we talking this season or overall?
Let's just talk about overall.
Overall.
Oh my God.
All right, well, this isn't tough for me. Give me Pablo Banchero.
Yeah,
Because he's just
Paulo's
levels
shown.
ahead above
Yeah,
the
Paulo's shown that he's already taken that jump right out of the gates. Give me Paulo. He's 2 inches taller. He's way more versatile on both ends of the floor. Way better playmaker, better rebounder. Now that you mention that, I don't even know if it's particularly.
I don't think there's a thing Paolo
Yeah,
does worse than Siakam.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll say give me Paulo.
Yeah, I don't even think that's
Unfortunately.
close. Moving along now, Paolo Banchero or Jaren Jackson Jr. They both technically play the four.
They do technically play the four. You know what? Give me Triple J because he's still good offensively, but he's also elite defensively. Paolo's not elite defensively.
Bro is the
Who would I
thinker
rather
right now.
have on my team? Probably Paolo. I'm gonna go Paolo, even though it's really close because
I'm gonna go Triple J.
Triple
I'm
J
gonna
is
go
a depoy. He probably is more versatile. You know, three levels. He probably shoots the ball better at every level than Paulo. But I'm gonna take Paul. Like who? I think I'd rather have Paulo on my favorite team right now than Triple J.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Paolo as well. Just his ability to create on offense reminds me a lot of a young LeBron James.
Yeah.
And a young LeBron James was really good. Paolo Banchero, only 21 years old. I'm really excited to see what he does. Did we lose Jalen?
I don't know. Did we? I don't see his face anymore.
I
Oh,
mean,
he might have just gotten like a phone call or something.
well, let's just wait. I'll edit it.
We
Oh,
can.
my bad. My bad. Christopher was knocking.
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right.
we can just cut that part out.
All
Yeah,
right,
just cut
moving
it out.
along. All right, moving along. Pablo Banchero, or who's the name that we could show here? Pablo Banchero or Evan Mobley?
Paulo.
I'm yeah, Paulo. I don't think it's close. I really don't think it's close, but I think Evan Mobley is a better rebounder and a better defender than Paulo.
Yeah, but it's not close offensively, I don't
Offensively,
think.
it's not really close. Although Evan Mobley has stepped up a lot as a scorer this year.
All right. I'm also going to take Paolo Banchero. All right, Paolo Banchero or Laurie Markkinen.
Ooh,
Paulo.
That's not an oh. They give me Paolo. Let's just be honest.
I
Paolo's
don't
levels
know.
above
Laurie's
Markkinen.
pretty good
He's
offensively.
good, but he don't win. There's a
Yeah,
difference.
That's more of a team thing though. Paul, I mean, if you put Laurie on the Magic, they'll be doing around the same.
They'd be doing good, yes, but they would not be winning
I
the
think
way
this.
they
I think that's
are.
still a playoff team if Laurie's
Paul,
on that team.
Paulo is the backbone of that team as a 21-year-old. Like Paulo, you put Paulo on the Jazz, and I think the Jazz are a playing team.
Really.
I don't think
I don't know
Lowry.
if he's that good.
I
I don't
think
think
that the
he. I don't think
Jazz
he
could
can
be a
carry that team to a
playing
play-in.
team with Paolo. I do. I'll take Paolo over
I'm
Laurie.
taking Laurie.
All right, and finally, probably the last one we're going to do because there's a few names that are obviously going to be or we're going to take over Paolo, but Paolo Banchero versus Julius Randle, and that's right now.
See,
That's not career like future. That's just right now.
Give me
see,
Randall.
before the NBA season, I would have said Julius Randle, but now that I'm seeing Paulo's just taking an otherworldly jump, I think I just have to take Paulo for that.
Yeah.
Because I
Ah,
think Randall can do what Paul can do offensively, but I don't think Paul can do what Randall does defensively. I think
yeah,
Randall can score 50
Oh,
on any
he's
given
done it.
night.
He's
Yeah,
done it
he's done it.
before. I mean,
So
right now, I'm
I'm
still give
a,
me Randall,
I
Paulo,
I think it's still
Paulo.
Randall.
Give me a good month, Paulo, and I'm going to put you over Randall. But right
yeah.
now, I think if you
I
give
need to
Randall the
see.
reins, he could drop 50.
Yeah, I need to see more. I'll probably still have Julius Randle because Julius Randle's been playing pretty good too.
All right, and
Yeah.
finally, I'll just end it on here: Paolo Banchero or Kevin Durant.
Oh, Kevin Durant.
And yeah, that's how we're gonna end it.
Kevin
But that
Durant.
was this or that. Obviously, we like to play a game to end it off. I know
Actually,
we did mention
I
that.
have one more for you guys.
Okay,
All
one
right, go
more.
ahead, throw it out there.
This season, and let's just say Paulo's whole NBA career over the past like 3 years, Paulo Banchero or LeBron James.
Is this even a question? Is this even it's even a debate? I
Over
don't
the
think it's even
last three
close.
years,
For
I
yeah,
don't
for as
I
much
don't
as
think it's even close.
LeBron averaged like 28 2 years ago. I mean, let's not forget that.
I know, let's not forget that.
I
I
think
mean,
I
give me
think I think a
Bron.
closer one would be someone like Paulo or Brandon Ingram.
That's Paulo.
Is it?
Yes.
Is
BI is
it?
nice. BI is nice, but Paulo is a way more polished player than Bi.
I think Bi is a better scorer than
Paulo
Paolo.
can literally
Oh, for
Paulo
sure.
doesn't have
He's up there
one
top five in
weakness on the
scoring.
No,
floor.
Paolo can't shoot threes. Not like Bi can.
Yeah, but
I
Bi
think Bi is a
can't.
better scorer. You take a score for score. Bi is a better scorer. I don't
I
think it's
don't.
close
I don't
scoring
say that.
wise. I don't think it's close
I
scoring
think
wise.
Paulo's the better scorer than Bi.
No,
Hey,
no, no, no.
Brandon Ingram was compared to Kevin Durant, by the way, at one point. Let's not forget that
Oh, I'm
when it
not
comes from
forgetting
scoring
that.
ability.
I'm not forgetting that. Paulo is better at getting a bucket than
I
Bi.
think you're forgetting who Brandon Ingram is.
I'm
I
not.
think I think he's been
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of the
No,
spotlight too
I'm
long.
looking at the Bi who averaged 10 points in the playoffs against OKC last season.
He was coming off an
That's what I'm
injury.
looking at.
Was he like not fully healthy?
No,
Wasn't it
he was
questionable?
healthy.
I swear he was out for most of for like the latter part of that season and came back early just because there was no Zion, so they would have had no chance unless Bi played.
Only averaged
Jackson, who are you
10
taking?
minutes.
You taking Bi? You taking Paulo?
I'm taking, I mean,
I don't even
right
think that's
now, I'm
close.
taking
I
Paolo because Paolo gives you more of a rebounding factor. He's more of a defender than
I
Brandon
guess,
Ingram.
but then again,
But when it comes
Bi is
to
still
like
six
toe to
nine, six
toe,
ten.
point to point, give me Brandon Ingram all day. Brandon Ingram is a
Give me
top
Brandon.
10
I think
scorer in
Brandon
the league.
Ingram's a better player than Paolo. I don't even know if it's close. It's close, but I don't know if
All
A
around,
player
Paolo's a better player.
overall, I'm not going to say he clears
overall
Bi, but
Paolo gets
Bi is better
rebounds.
than Paolo offensively.
Paulo
I
can
don't.
do way more on a basketball court than Bi can.
No, he can't. No, he
Yes,
can't.
he can.
Bi
Yes,
is a better
he can.
dribbler. He's a better 3-point shooter. He's
Yeah,
just
but
as
that's
good
all
of a mid range
offense.
shooter. The only thing that Paolo can do better than him is inside scoring because he's bigger.
But he can still match Bi probably to about the 3-point line. He's not on Bi's level at the 3-point line.
But
Mid
then
range, he's
we
there.
forget that Bi's main thing is mid range
Yeah,
shooting.
I
That's like his
understand that.
main thing. And I think
So is
he's probably one of
Paulo's.
the best.
So is
I know,
Paulo's.
but he's not as good as Bi in the
I
mid
mean,
range.
bucket to bucket, it's gonna be
Bucket to
Brandon
bucket,
Ingram.
it's
But let's
Bi,
not
and in
forget
defense,
Bucket
it's
to
defense
just
and
bucket's
rebounding.
Paolo.
Bi, but Paulo isn't too far behind him in terms of scoring. You
I
say
I I think he's a
you
couple
have
steps
that, you
behind.
have the offensive side of the ball where they're close, and then you turn the defensive side. Paulo clears Bi on the defensive
Yeah,
end.
he clears Bi, but I don't think it's okay. I don't know if he clears him. It's Bi's not a bad defender because he's lengthwise, but
He gets bodied a lot.
he because he's smaller. But offensively, I don't know if it's that close because Bi is just as good of a mid range. He's a better 3-point shooter, and he's a good finisher as well. Paolo's better at finishing, but he's not as good shooting the jumper than Paolo Banchero. Don't let the 50-point game fool you. Paolo averaged like what? Don't let the 50-point game fool you. I don't think Paolo is as consistent as a scorer as Brandon Ingram.
I think
Bi's
the
averaged like
comments
what,
is gonna have to answer that
23 for like
question.
the past 4 years?
He's
Hmm?
shooting 40% from three.
Who is
Paulo,
this season?
yes,
In 3 games.
I understand that.
Hey, he did hit a lot of threes on the Pacers yesterday.
He did hit a lot of things. He was on yesterday, so that probably boosted
He's
his
been on all
percentage up a
year.
little bit.
He's been on.
Yeah,
He's he's been
he's been on for the
balling.
3 games. He's been on for a week.
Like I said, give it a month.
Give it a month.
Hey, in a month he could
I'll
be
give it a
top 15
month.
in the league.
I'll give it a month, and we're gonna come back at
We're gonna
this,
come back to it.
and we're gonna wonder why this was even a
So
conversation.
who do you have right now? Zion or Paulo?
Zion or Paulo?
Yes.
Paulo.
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna debate that.
I mean, it would
it's
be
toss up.
Zion. It probably would be Zion if you could stay on the court, but I don't know. I just haven't seen enough from Zion. I've seen Paulo do everything.
I guess we'll come back and see. I bet you Paulo will.
Who do you have,
Bi will.
Jackson? Who do you have?
He is Paulo.
Okay.
Oh, over Zion?
No, over Bi.
Oh yeah, Paolo.
I don't.
He's just a
Okay.
better on defense and rebounding. Paolo averages like 8 rebounds a game.
Yeah, he's better on defensive rebounding.
Rebounding is
Not
big.
He's a better
rebounding is
passer.
big.
He's a better
But then
playmaker.
again, Bi has a small forward, not a power forward. Paul's a power forward, so he's not really supposed to be rebounding like that. He's supposed to be in
So then why?
transition
I mean, then
I
because they're like the
technically, if
same
we're gonna
size.
pull the
on
They're around the
position
same
on
guard
the
size.
out, then
on
why
the
are they being
offensive end,
compared?
on the offensive end, Paulo is way more versatile than BI is on the
No,
offense.
he's not. No,
Yes, he
he's
is.
not. No,
Yes,
he's
he
not.
is. Yes,
No,
he
he's not.
is.
No,
Yes,
he's
he
not.
is.
No, he's
Bro,
not.
BI is not attracting two players in the mid range and then flinging a pass to the corner. He can't create plays like Paulo can. He just can't.
Yes, he can't. Bro,
No, he can't.
I
He
don't
does
think.
not.
I don't think we're thinking of the same Brandon Ingram. You must be
His
thinking of another
passing,
Brandon Ingram.
BI's passing is nowhere near the level of passing Paulo's is.
Okay,
It's just
we'll
not.
come back to it. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. This argument's running long.
And my final point is BI is known for his scoring. That's really like one of the only things he can do on the basketball court. And Paulo is still close to him on scoring.
All right. How about
And he's
this? How
known
about
for that.
this? In 2 weeks' time, episode 4, we are going to touch on this, and we will compare stats from right this point at 9:18 on October 27th, 29th to 2 weeks from now when we record episode
I'm looking
4.
at the stats right now, and I
We're
think
going to compare.
it's crazy.
We're going to compare both
these
these
BI
players'
stats are crazy. I'm not going to
stats
say anything,
with all the
but these
rest.
BI stats are crazy. Better than Paulo's.
We'll see in 2 weeks.
All right,
They got 2 weeks to ball out.
all right. We'll come back to it.
So that 50-point game does not matter
No, no, it does not.
How does it not matter?
because we're doing from this point
2 weeks.
to
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks. They got
Okay,
2 weeks.
okay.
In that span
So
of 2 weeks,
we're brainwashing everything that both of each player has done, and we're just looking at the next 2 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're getting next 2 weeks.
So Paolo
Okay.
Banchero could technically play really bad and lose this little debate.
I think in 4 weeks we're gonna look back at this and wonder why this was even a conversation.
I mean, I'm not. I know where my loyalties lie.
All right,
'Cause I don't think it's
we'll have to
close.
see. But that's going to be it for today's episode. A little tangent rant at the end, but that's exciting. That's why you do podcasts, because you can have moments like that. We were a little long for time, so we are going to have to give our Eastern Conference predictions in the next episode. So keep an eye out for that. But as always, it's been fun, and until next time.
Yes, sir.
See you.